Gaston in front of us, and Ruth Rockwell and Flo Schneider. And it is not February 6, 2022. It is February 6, 1995. Somebody doesn't know how to set the clock on the camera. So, or matter of fact, nobody knows. We'll start with Jim and talk to him. He is a direct descendant of E.B. Gaston. E.B. Gaston being one of the leader of the founders of Fairhope. And Jim just told us how his parents got here, according to his father.
According to my dad, he said he moved his parents down here in 1894 when he was 4 years old.
Okay.
And as to my mother's parents, why they came, I'm not really that much of a historian, I don't know, but I understand that when Dad met Mother, why, her name was Olive Wood, and somebody, and I guess it was him, stuck her with the name Piney. And a lot of folks figured that was her name, given name. I think Jean thought that was my older sister Jean thought that was her name for a long time.
Yeah.
But Olive Piney Wood, they called her.
Yeah, and it's interesting that I had a great-grandfather named Wood, who was here also.
Right.
Okay, so when your father, after he was 4 years old, when he came of age, so to speak, what did he do in Fairhope when he grew up?
I understand he borrowed like $300 maybe it was from Dr. Mershon, I think, to get into the taxi business in Fairhope. He ran a couple of taxis up on the corner.
And about what period of time was this?
Oh, probably before I was born, because he signed a contract with Ford to be a dealer in 1923 when I was only 2 years old.
Okay, so it had
Before that time, he sold cars for other dealers in the Mobile area and ran taxis from Fairhope to Baymanette, from Fairhope to Foley.
Now, I never knew that.
He took what he called drummers around. You know what a drummer is?
Yeah, salesman?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And he signed with Ford in 1923, and I believe, Ruth, that's when he built the building that's still there today that houses Andres and the restaurants and you name it up there now.
It was there when I first remember.
And that old corrugated roof is the one that was put on there in 1923.
And it's still on there?
Still on.
Good gracious. That's good. See, it shows they can make them to last if they really want to.
Well, when you look around Fairhope up here on Edward Street, you can see a house occasionally with a tin roof on it.
Fairhope Friends Meeting House had that same kind of tin roof, and that was 1918. That was good.
Yeah.
Is it still there?
They seem to last forever.
Wonderful.
But some of the other things that I don't know what I would remember about Fairhope is some years ago they were talking about putting an amphitheater down there. There used to be one there.
On the beach, right.
On the beach, North Beach, which would be up where the ducks are, and that water up there we used to call Crawfish Pond. Used to be a favorite place for kids back in my day. And there was a little theater up there that would have been right about at the foot of Keeper Street, I'd say, but down at the lower level.
And it was in the bluff, wasn't it? The back part of the theater was in the bluff.
Yeah. That's right. I remember it very clearly.
I don't remember it, but I've seen pictures.
Then, of course, at the pier, there used to be an old ball diamond there. Fairhope Casino. 4th of July was a big time. The likes of Horace Burkell and E.H. Crip Gooden would put on boxing exhibitions down there. That was quite a show.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Kids used to swim out on the pier all the time, greeting the boats out there, the Bay Queen and the Eastern Shore.
Swim out to the boats?
No, we'd be on the pier when they docked.
Oh, okay.
And when the boat would back away, of course, the captain would caution us kids to stay out of the way, but we'd dive off the pier else can I?
Anything for a little excitement in Fairhope back in the good
That's
old
right.
quiet days.
Did they
Well-
have did they have the high slide when you were swimming out there?
Have the what?
The slides, you know.
Oh yeah.
The
Big
high
chutes,
ones?
big chutes and little chutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big chutes and little chutes.
I have to ask you this. How about the clod fights in the gully?
Yeah, we used to have some of those. We used to have watermelon rind fights out on the pier.
Oh
Get a
yeah.
watermelon
Yeah, I'd
big,
forgotten about
have
those.
rind fights out on the pier. Yeah, we had some good battles down in Big Head Gully. That's probably what Paul spoke of.
Several people have mentioned the clod fights.
Yeah.
And I brought it up because it's a favorite of mine. I had one clod fight and that was enough. I got hit by one clod and I was ready to go home. And that was, I couldn't throw nearly as hard as those boys could.
Now they have fights with real guns, but we just had through clods. Pretty basic.
Yeah.
But we used to enjoy those outings down to Big Head Gully. It's different now, a lot of difference. It's unbelievable the way things are growing at this moment.
That's true.
But like you can't hold back progress, you know.
That's right. Well, as one person said recently, you qualify as a real Fairhoper if you say as soon as you move here, they ought not to let anyone else in. So I guess we all qualify.
Well, I was born here, born in Mobile, of course, but born in the hospital over there, but I was born and raised here. And I've been here really all my life except for 4 years at Auburn and 3 years in the U.S. Army.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, when I came back out of the service, I, after a short while, went to work for Dad in the shop, the Ford dealership, and gradually worked on to become the dealer.
How long did y'all have the dealership, Ford dealership?
About 68 years total.
My goodness, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you go to organic school or public?
Organic from start to finish.
Okay.
Kindergarten through high school.
I suppose you've been taped up at the school.
Yes.
Okay, and told about what you liked and maybe what you didn't like.
That was great. I think there were 6 or 8 in our graduating class back in 1939. Big class.
Did you play basketball back then?
Yeah. Had a good basketball team. We beat, I think it was probably our senior year, we beat the public school 2 out of 3 games that year, as I remember. Buddy Beiser, Paul Frederick, Owen Stimson, myself, Jimmy Mitchell, Kenny Kane was our coach. We had a pretty good basketball team.
You could tower over any of them.
I can't believe how different basketball is now because, you know, after every point, I remember games being like 10 to 12 for the whole game. Now they're 112 or 113. But after each basket, you go jump center again. Now they just flip it out and keep moving.
Oh, so the game was different back then. Or y'all played it differently anyway.
Well, it sure looks different to me. I swear, you know, the best basketball referee we ever had around here is Arthur Manick. He's still here.
That's true.
Itchy Manick, they call him. But
Yeah.
boy, when he dropped down on one knee and pointed that finger and said, you're traveling, you knew you'd been traveling. And it looks to me like a lot of these players now are traveling. In other words, I can see them take 3 steps, I know, without dribbling the ball, and then they float up and drop in the basket. So it's different. And so is everything else.
Yeah, that's true. Nothing's constant but change, huh?
Nothing constant but change.
So, let's see, what else? Ruth, you got any questions?
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Well, you were on the colony council for a while.
Oh, yeah.
I was on the city council for 2 terms, 8 years, back in Joe Schneider's terms. I don't remember.
He was there one term.
Maybe he was on there 1 term, I guess it was. Les Boone was on with me. He was on 1 term. Willy Nelson was on, Walter Poser, Elton Schermer. I told them all I'd outlive them. I guess the only one I got to outlive now is Walter Poser. But I'll do that.
He's the only one left, huh?
I think so. And then I was on the Single Tax Council for quite some time, I guess.
Can you remember any particular, particularly upsetting or important decisions that had to be made while you were there?
Yeah. Things that might not seem important to some people, but I remember the closing off, what a bitter dispute there was over the closing off at certain hours of Church Street.
Is it Summit that
where
goes?
the old school is.
Oh yeah, church is on, yeah.
That's Church Street. That was a pretty bitterly fought council decision. Made the council seats pretty hot, but we finally got it. They wanted to close it, actually close it while the kids were during recess or whatever. And of course, to this day, there's still the walkway there with a stop sign.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty tough decision.
What about the one behind the school? I think you all, the filling of that gully back there started.
Yeah,
During
that
that
was Les. Have to give Les Boone credit for that because he was the engineer of the bunch, and that was his idea, and he engineered getting it done. And I'm quite sure he also had quite a bit to do with the cleanup of the gully up by the high school, which is now a middle school, I think, on North Section Street.
Yeah.
That was all cleaned out down below and a catch basin put down there, and it made it look a whole lot better.
And it's filled in quite a bit.
Filled in quite a bit, that's
Sure
right.
has.
Then the gas system was put in, as I recall, when we were on the council. That was a pretty big decision and investment, but it certainly had been one that paid off well.
Now the city owns its own gas.
Bringing in natural gas, you know.
Does the city own its own
Yes.
gas? I thought it did.
Jimmy, you know, that was one of the things that started in the very beginning, that was a part of what was supposed to be a part of city, or like for the corporation, they acted as a municipality. And so they put all these things in as owned by them or answered to them or something. And that has continued on, and every time something comes up, well, then the city has been able to get it and maintain it. And that's where they have their big income now.
That's been the city's salvation, I think, is owning,
Absolutely.
number one, owning the utilities, and number two, having the Fairhope Single Tax Coporation there to
Bail 'em
back
out.
up so many things and share expenses, you know.
Yeah.
But owning the utilities, I believe, is the secret of it.
And
See,
that,
Fairhope still doesn't have a city sales tax.
that's right.
I think it's the only one around that doesn't, but it does not have a sales tax. The city
Mayor
does.
said that people ask him, how come they don't have to have a sales tax? He said, well, we don't need it.
Make money off the gas and
Utilities.
electricity, water, sewer.
Well, people tell me the electricity is higher here than other places, and I suppose it may be, and maybe the city's using that money to plant the flowers. I don't know.
I don't know about that either, whether it's higher, but
He said it was lower. Now, I don't know, just on average or what.
yeah.
Because sometimes, you know, when you use a small amount, it costs more per unit.
Yeah, there's all different
So a
ways
lot
to
of people
structure it.
complain about how much they can pay for a small amount.
Maybe higher for some people and lower for other people.
I remember. You remember the old water tower, don't you? I'm not talking about the old one.
Now, I
We're not
remember the
that
one
old.
that was there by your
But the one that was
building.
right there by the police station and behind the garage. I remember when they took it down,
Yeah.
put a new one up.
All
And
the
that one always looked so it had legs that went straight up. Most water towers, you know, the legs splayed out at the bottom. This one, the legs were absolutely straight up and down, weren't they? And when a person,
that way.
they were. When a person saw that tank, a lot of them thought, my gosh, why doesn't it blow over or fall down? It never did. There was no spreading of the legs on that tower. They were straight up and down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the seniors had to climb up and write something on it every year.
Yeah, they took away that fun when they moved it.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else we need to put on this tape for posterity?
Then when did you go into the colony? It was in the 60s?
When did I enter?
When you were started on the council.
Probably when I came out of the service in '46.
Well, it was after
I may not. I don't know.
It was after you were had been on the city council, wasn't it?
Might have been.
Were you on the council when your father was president?
President of.
The colony, the Single Tax Coporation.
I don't know. I really don't.
Seems like that you went on.
I was on the council in the late '50s and early '60s, I think.
Yeah, probably so.
What were the big controversies in the council colony at that time?
I don't remember any big colony controversies. There was a little bit of a dissension when the vote came up on Schneider Park out here about whether the city should buy that property, I think. I believe don't we still call it that? I think it was named.
I've heard people call it that. I don't know if that's what its name is.
I don't remember that we had any battles with the colony. The new pier was built during the time I was on there.
Yeah.
Jack
That's
Stipes was on it at that time. Jack
that's
Stipes had a lot to do.
when they condemned the casino. The city condemned the casino, and then they condemned the land too.
Yeah, I remember that, but vaguely.
And that ended up in court.
Yeah.
And because the court had to decide how to divide, they had assessed, somebody had assessed the value, and then they had to decide who got what, whether city or the owner or the person that was going to get the money for the building, and in the colony who had
Another thing I remember about down there by the pier was there was quite a flowing artesian well. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
About where the fire station is,
Yeah.
I think.
And they capped that off.
Capped it off. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember drinking that water, and it was really strong with sulfur.
Oh, it smelled awful.
I think that's why they kept it.
That was a good idea.
But if that was the only water you had, was that what the Bergmans used to make ice when they had their
That old building down there?
when they made before they moved
Did they use the artesian well? Is that what
Yeah,
you're
I guess
saying?
you wouldn't remember that.
I don't remember when they made ice down there, but I remember the artesian well.
Yeah.
That would have made awful tasting ice. But it may have been all they had. I don't know.
Well, they'd probably keep things cold.
Yeah, that's right, if you weren't going to use it for drinks.
They made a lot of ice uptown, I know.
Yeah.
Because when Dad, just before he died, I had started remodeling and expanding the downtown dealership to include the creamery property. I acquired that property back there and had to tear it down. And I remember a pretty good sized truck really literally fell in a hole back there about where that ice plant was. Took a lot of filling back there to get that little swamp filled. In fact, there used to be a dog pound back there, if you remember, even before the creamery was.
And there was a ditch that was always just off of these belly.
Oh,
train down to Glory.
And then about across the street from there, old man Blacksmith.
Ludwig?
Nick Ludwig had a blacksmith shop right about where the pecan company loads trucks over there.
And where did you live when you were growing up?
Summit Street, 6 North Summit Street.
6 North Summit, okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's, yeah, sure, that's where I took many piano lessons.
Yeah, right next door to what was the library.
Yeah, yeah.
That was it.
Your mom was my piano teacher for 5 years.
Wasn't very far to Warcank School, and it wasn't very far to the bay.
That's right.
We could shoot right straight down to the bay, go right down the alley across the street, right on down, right all through that whole block, go across the old park and right down to the bay.
I don't believe that alley's open now all the way.
I think it might be. I drove by there the other day and looked up through there, and it looked like you could probably go all the way through there.
It's not very wide, I
No.
know, but. See, things sort of moved around what happened at the bay, didn't they? I mean, everybody,
That was a
a
center
big,
of
it was a
activity.
big thing in everybody's life.
Yeah, yeah.
Every Sunday morning, my family, Mother, Dad, Fuzzy, Jean, and I would go to the beach for breakfast, and they'd cook breakfast on charcoal pots that they got right up here at Daphne from Dryer's Pottery. And it was just a big deal down there. A lot of families down there would be there every Sunday morning fixing breakfast on the beach, up on that North Beach. That was a big thing back in those days.
That's right. We had a lot of picnics down there too. A lot of
Sure did.
activities. You could actually swim in the bay.
Oh, I'm not too sure you can still do that.
Oh, well, yeah, I think we can.
I can remember the bay being muddied, but just muddied, still up into 4th of July. But that depends a lot on what kind of rainy season you have, you know.
That's right.
And we always look forward to when the bay would clear up and we could really enjoy the swimming down there.
Yeah.
Nice salty water.
And just in a little while, then the sea will come in.
Yeah. They'd be right
But you just
behind.
dodge them.
So I don't know what else I could inject. It might be historical or interesting.
Well, you were the 3rd generation of Gastons in Fairhope, and then you have a son and you have grandchildren. So there's 5 generations of your family on your particular branch of the family. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I guess you're right. There is coming up on 48, I believe.
Yeah. Because he's 7 ages skinny. So
And he's got
yeah.
4 girls, no boys, so that name will kind of fade out there.
Well, there are not many Gaston names now.
But no.
No, because there's a lot of, like, Spider doesn't have any
You know, it's,
grandkids.
as you and I know well, there's really getting to be that not too many natives left
That's
here.
right.
That's
Native
true.
Fairhopians,
The
you know.
percentage is getting smaller and smaller.
It's getting littler all the time.
Well,
I was born here, but my parents moved here after it was started in the early teens. It's a lot of change since I can remember. Just doesn't seem like the same place at all.
Well, I had a happy experience the other day. I was doing some volunteer work up at organic school, and one of the teachers who's just come there this year mentioned that she was looking around for a school that she had a philosophy that she could agree with, and she didn't find one. And then she said she had heard the name of organic school, but she had forgotten it. So she and her husband talked it over, and they finally found it in the phone book. And she called up and went down and talked to the director and said, "This is it." So she is a teacher herself. She wound up putting her child in kindergarten and teaching the third life. So I thought that was just wonderful that the two got together and that she was able to find it and go right to it. And she's a wonderful teacher. I'm real happy that they have her.
I think one of the most amusing things I can think of, as far as, you know, you hear a lot of talk about snowbirds down here, coming down every year. Our second door to the right neighbor, the Missoulas, moved down here several years ago from Watertown, New York. And they love it down here. They haven't regretted 1 minute moving down here, but I asked Ed one day, I said, "Ed, how's the golf out at the Fairhope Municipal Golf Course? They belong out there and play, you know." He said, "Man, the snowbirds are just taking it over."
Yeah, my brother's one of those snowbirds.
We know about that, don't we? Okay, well, Jim, we thank you for talking to us today and
Well, it's
saying
been
a little bit
pleasurable.
about Fairhope's history.
Wish I could have contributed more, but
Well, if you think
can't think of all these things when you want to. Now, you can think of them next day, maybe. You know.
Well, if you think of them, write them down. Be sure and write them down. That's a voice of experience. Write them down and call us. We'll come back and get them. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.